Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias.
Welcome back to my series on the new generation of Rough Ryder StoneWorx knives. As you see here, there's two boxes here. I am going to be showing two knives, but really I'm just looking at the Small Stockman today. But what I wanted to show you is the size of box that the Small Stockman comes in versus the size of box that most of the Rough Ryder knives show up in, which is a much larger box. I still have one more Rough Ryder out there that I need to get. My bet is it's going to be in the bigger box, which is shameful as far as I'm concerned, because every knife so far except for one would have fit inside this box. Now this is the Rough Ryder 2408 Small Stockman. The other two knives that came in a small box was the tiny toothpick and the small leg knife. But if we open up this box, we can see here that here's the bow trapper. I believe I've already shown that. It would have easily fit inside this box with no problem. The large toothpick also, though very close, could have fit inside this box if they wanted to do it. The only knife that wouldn't, and that is because of how wide the hawkbill blade is, this is the only knife that would not fit in the smaller box. So in theory, they only needed to use the larger box for one knife, but so far 9 of the 12 have shown up in a large box. You know, in this age of reduce, reuse, recycle, I'm not sure why they're using such a big box. Not to mention, these things take up a lot of space in the collection. The only plus is once you rip everything out of inside, you got a little bit of space to store a few knives in. But I could probably store the entire StoneWorx collection in maybe 3 boxes. As it is, these boxes are going to take up a lot of space. Enough ranting about magnetic boxes. Let's talk about the knife here, the RR2408 Small Stockman. From the name, you can guess it's a small Stockman, and by small, I mean I think it comes in right at 3 1/8 of an inch or something like that. Yeah, it is not a big knife. 3 1/4 inch Stockman, basically 3 1/4 inches long closed. You've got a nice little clip blade going on, and then relatively low profile on the sheep foot blade over here. Nice little pull going, and then a sheep foot blade. This is a very common knife in the Rough Ryder lineup. Used to be a very common knife. I don't know how common it is now. It is not a pattern that I normally collect, but I do know that you see it in a lot of places. It's one of their small patterns that they like to produce, and I got a feeling that's why it is in the StoneWorx series, because I do know a lot of people collect Stockmans and a lot of people collect small Stockmans, and this is like one of the perfect gentleman's carry kind of knives. I think it's about the same size as number 18 in the case lineup. Might be a little smaller, I'm not sure. But it is a very old pattern that has been around a long time. A lot of companies make a small Stockman. I think it's like the Schrade Middleman Jack and stuff like that too. This one, really good action on the blades. Not very tight at all. I would give the main blade a pull right around 4. The sheep foot is really light. I would give that about a 3. But you see, it stays in place, and there's no blade wobble going on with it. Yeah, you can, hey, look at that. If you want to be daring, you can close it one-handed, but really not designed that way. And I would give the spay blade a pull of 4 as well. It's got a decent enough pull on it. Nice little shape to it. If you wanted to change it, you got enough up here that you could actually turn this into a spear blade if you wanted to. Of course, then you would ruin the swedge going on there. Not much of a swedge. The swedge is really, well, it looks like it. Swedge looks like it's running the whole length there almost. You can't see it on this side because of the match strike pull, but the swedge is running up there. But where it's really most noticeable is right there on the spay portion, which is kind of odd, because that would, the swedge, the purpose of a swedge is to make it easier for something to puncture, and the purpose of a spay blade is you're nipping that tip there so that you're less likely to poke a hole into something. So Isn't that kind of like counterproductive to put a swedge on a spade blade? Just thinking out loud, it seems like it would be kind of counterproductive to put a swedge to increase the penetration tip of a spade blade. Like I said, not every blade needs to have a swedge. I wish they would get over that right now. And then you got the swedge on a sheep foot blade up here too, and that's just at the very tip there. It's all right. If you like the swedge, you're really going to like it on this knife. It's done really well, at least on this one that I have. The swedge on the clip starts with the clip and just runs down the clip, and that would help with the penetration there. You do get a little thinness there, but at least it's not as thin up here. Sometimes they get that swedge going way back on there, and fortunately they did not on this one. And nice deep match strike pull there, and not a bad looking knife at all. Stone wise, you've got the Bloody Basin Jasper, or the Red Agate, whatever you want to call it, and then you got the yellow jasper and the blue turquoise, yellow jasper, and then a red keystone in the middle there, the Bloody Basin Jasper, and that is repeated on the opposite side. So this is one of those knives that does not have any pearl or abalone in it, which is unfortunate, and I think they had the potential of putting it in there. I think what would have been nice is to have maybe the abalone out here and pearl in the middle, or pearl where the two stripes are, and then abalone in the middle. Personally, I would have liked to have seen pearl where these two lines were, and then black mother of pearl in the middle. That's what I would have liked to have seen on this, but this is the stones that you got on there. Now, like I mentioned, there was one earlier in the first run of StoneWorx knives, and let's take a look at that and how those stones looked. And this knife also had a bit of a jumble of stones, but they were kind of interesting stones at the same time. What you see here is you've got the red stones on the outside there, the Bloody Basin Jasper, and then you've got the turquoise as the keystone up here. And then what you had was gold lip, mother of pearl, and abalone, which is kind of interesting. And I think this is one of the few knives in the first turquoise or first StoneWorx series that actually had gold lip, mother of pearl. Matter of fact, this might have been the only one that had the gold lip, mother of pearl, which is a nice looking stone too. The abalone in this does not have as much fire as the new abalone does, but also it's not bad. It looks okay. This one almost looks like black lip mother of pearl because there's so little of the shell orientation of the abalone showing in there. You can see it a little bit better here, and you can see it much better over here. But in any case, that was the original one, and obviously, as we know, the original lack half stops. They do not have the pulls or anything, but otherwise it's a nice little match. And I think that's really the cool thing about this. If you are a person who collects the small stockmans, you would have two really nice looking pieces of pocket jewelry in the small stockmans here. Now, this is not one of my truly favorite ones to collect, but I do like the small stockman, so that one kind of makes me happy to have. And that's really one of the things when it comes to going after a full series of knives. One of the things that you end up looking at is what knives are in the series, and that'll make you decide on, do I want to do it or do I not want to do it. Now, I'm not sure the thought process that goes into picking the knives that are going to go into something like the StoneWorx series. The idea of a series of knives is kind of like twofold. First of all, you want to get somebody to collect the entire series. So you've got to put knives in there that are going to be really popular, but also I'm thinking you also have to think a little bit outside the box, because people will get tired of just seeing the same old knives over and over and over. So you have to kind of like add something to the knives. And I think this is even more complicated because this is not a new series of knives, the StoneWorx knives. Yes, it's kind of a new take on the old patterns or the old series, but new packaging, a few new stones added to it, and obviously some new patterns being added to it, which is makes sense, because if you were to just repeat all the old patterns, it would just be a new release of the old patterns, and maybe the people who already had it would not be interested in it. That would be especially true if all the stones were the same as the first time around. So you have to mix up the stones. You need to mix up the patterns a little bit, but at the same time, you have to think about this is going to be an entirely new series for a whole new group of collectors who missed out on the StoneWorx the first time. So I can't imagine how complicated it was trying to pick out the patterns here. And really what kind of amazed me when they came out with it is, they did come out with a new large toothpick, which was in the first run of StoneWorx knives. And it might have been, and I think they released this toothpick, the original toothpick, more than once. So it must have been one of the few large toothpicks that was popular that Rough Ryder has made, because I can't think of too many other large toothpicks that Rough Ryder has made multiple runs of, other than the StoneWorx series and now the new generation of StoneWorx series that has a new line of or new a stone pattern going with it. But then we have this also, which are these small Stockmans. Now they also did the large Stockman, but they did not do a trapper, which kind of surprised me, other than the bow trapper. So, and they already have two trappers in the StoneWorx series with two different sets of stones going on. So will there be a third trapper? I wonder. I really do. I think the reason they grabbed the Stockmans, the small Stockmans, is simply because it is a popular pattern. Not the most popular pattern out there, but I do know that there's a lot of people who love to collect small Stockmans. So that's probably why they did it. This is a second one that they've done. This one here is a second one they've done. And I'm kind of glad they did that. I was happier to see this than the large Stockman, because that was the third large Stockman. So at a certain point it becomes overkill. How many times can you mix up the stones on the large Stockman in a StoneWorx series? Would I love to see a third or fourth or fifth large toothpick? Yeah, but honestly, I can't see that happening, simply because the same reason with the large Stockman. You can only make them so many times before people say, you've done that, stop it. Anyway, I guess I'm rambling now, and I will let you go. I've got one more to look at, and then I'll do a recap.
Let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.